So Fernando goes out and he's like, "Yo, I know we're doing this wearables podcast, so I bought these Ray-Bans that are like Meta Ray-Bans." And then he tells me, "I forgot the Ray-Bans at home."
I forgot the.
But also, Fernando, yeah, whoops. Did I say I had
He's
it? I
like,
said I
he's
had it
like
in my
the
house.
whole, my entire, the prompt, the teleprompter was gonna be in my eyes, and now I can't. I don't know what I'm gonna say.
Legit, Fern could have been like literally reading off a script. He would have been solid.
The whole time, Meta's just talking to him in his ear, like, "Oh shit!" There they are.
I can pretend like they are.
No, those are the betas. Are those Warby Parkers? Those Google's beta glasses? That's what we're gonna say. Those are the betas. Here, beta testing the Google ones. Fern has early access.
These are the Venomore ones.
The Benamore ones.
These are the Venomore wearable.
He just taped a battery, a AA battery on the side. Just
This is the Venomore wearable.
You got to do the whole, now. You just have to stay like that for the whole episode. I'm sorry. It's just those are them the rules, my friend.
We're working on our own wearable.
Welcome back, everybody, for another Catalyst Conversations. As always, we have Gato, Fern, and Ben here to join us. And today we're going to be talking about wearables. You know, those things that from the 1982 Blade Runner movie that we thought we were going to have like 15 years ago. We're back. Lately, we've been seeing a whole bunch of stories from Google, Apple, the works, Facebook, with new wearable technologies. And we really want to talk about how are wearables in general going to affect the consumer journey, right? Is this something that brands need to start considering how they show up in the world? If so, what are those things? Or will it go the way of the 3D TV, which we all know, for all of you who still have one, you probably replaced them. So on that note, let me throw it to Fern, our resident wearable expert, because he recently bought one. Talk to me, Fern. What do you think? What you got going over there?
Well, I got the Meta glasses, and it was Ben and I had a discussion about like how things are changing, and we should be thinking about how our customers might utilize this for their customer journey, right? And their consumers. So it's interesting. I mean, it's definitely something different. With the Meta glasses, you wear them, and for me, it's more of just like a content gathering tool, right? Because you can take pictures, you can film, and it actually one of the things that I found interesting about it, as far as like quality of life, believe it or not, like so it was my daughter's birthday, and normally when it's somebody you're gonna sing happy birthday, you're holding the phone and you're trying to record, and this is just pressing a button, but you're in the moment. Right, so
That's cool.
I would say that
really
if
cool,
like for Meta, it would be interesting if they sold it that way, like get away from your phone and be in the moment. And like,
Meta, let us pitch. Let us pitch.
let us pitch.
Listen, it's so funny you mentioned that because I don't know if any of you guys got a chance to. If you haven't, I highly recommend it. To be honest, I think it was phenomenal. I actually did the demo for the Apple Vision Pro. And I think that for me as a consumer, the top two use cases that I saw when I did the demo were the first, entertainment, like, hello, watching that big screen. I thought that one of the best things were, could I, in that kind of AR space, watch on a 180 screen TV a movie with someone, my wife, next to me. And recently, in the latest Apple keynote, it is actually in WWDC. It was actually unveiled that now you can kind of pair them. So, phenomenal. I think that's going to be very helpful from an entertainment device. But the other kind of aligns with what Fern said, like being able to kind of relive those birthday memories, especially in spatial, that spatial visual technology that Apple has, that it makes you feel like literally like everything's three-dimensional, like you're in that memory. Man, that kind of made me sentimental, right? Like being able to kind of see some of that. And the fact that some of those pictures and videos are already captured on your phone from a consumer, I was like, man, to be able to relive my kid's, fifth birthday, like in 3D like that.
And I meant it from that perspective, but also from the perspective of living the moment, right? Because I wasn't like when you go to a concert, what are the things that artists are always upset about? That everybody's with their phone filming the concert, right? And they're not
Perfect.
enjoying the music.
Yeah.
They're not there watching the performance. Like when I had these glasses on and I was there enjoying the moment. I wasn't worried about if I capture this, if I capture that.
Yeah.
I capture what I saw. And so and with my eyes, I'm looking at what I find interesting. I don't have to double check, look at my phone. Am I capturing this? Am I capturing that? I'm
Right.
looking at the things that are important to me already.
I'm
So,
curious, right?
you know,
So I share that sentiment with you. I know Hansel shares that sentiment with you. We're millennials. How does Gen Z perceive that, right? Because go, got just give us the
Here I go, my hot take, but I feel like wearables are a hop and a skip away from a Black Mirror episode. And that's just my
yeah.
Well,
I
so
mean,
it's so funny. I was talking to my son, right? He's definitely in that Gen Z, maybe Gen Alpha kind of demo, and we were having a conversation about just culture, like importance. And he is a kid. He's 14 years. Well, he just turned 14, and he loves everything retro. He has a record player. He wants the old cool Game Boy. I'm like, dude, they have emulators with high res displays that you can play the old games, but no, he wants the original old school version. He likes old school fashion. So I think that as
counterculture.
technology is advancing, they're kind of pushing back on it a little bit. And again, the whole 3 megapixel camera trend of influencers, people taking pictures with low res pictures. So it's like there is also like something to be said about anti-culture changing, right? Like where as technology progresses, there's also so does the sentiment of kind of railing against it a little bit. So I can see that.
Yeah, I think it's fully counterculture. I think millennials are the most excited about all these new gadgets. I don't know if it's because you guys saw the most movies like Back to the Future. I don't know if it's because you guys wanted like
that's
all
what
those gadgets
probably.
from when you were younger. But honestly, I feel like getting like I've seen again, I know I mentioned Black Mirror, but there's an episode of Black Mirror where instead of wearables, they put like a chip where everything that you see, you record. And that's what it reminds me of. Like it's something that I feel it's a little invasive. I feel like you don't know who's wearing what. I mean, Fern, put your glasses on. In his case, they do have a flashlight, like
Yeah.
showing that it's recording, so it's not that bad. But I know that when Snapchat did it, it didn't really indicate that you were recording that much. And so I feel like something that we think about, we're like, oh, back then we could do whatever we want and nobody took out their phone and invaded our privacy. What is privacy going to mean when we don't know if someone's recording or not?
And I agree with that 100% because what's cool about the glasses too, they have speakers so you can listen to a podcast or music or whatnot. But yesterday I went to the gym with one of my daughters and my iPods are dead, like the battery died. And I was like, should I take the glasses so that I can listen to while I'm walking on the treadmill or lifting? But I felt uncomfortable walking around in the gym with those glasses, even if they have the light, because I don't want to at any moment be perceived like I might take a picture
right.
or film because people value their privacy just like I do. So in order not to put myself in an uncomfortable situation or put somebody else in an uncomfortable situation, I didn't wear it. But
Right.
there is going to get to a point where you're just going to have to find the appropriate places to be at and like you
So
can wear these things and without feeling like you're violating somebody's rights or be perceived yourself in a way that you don't want to be perceived, you know.
And to piggyback off of the counterculture, right? So
Yeah,
there is always a slow adoption period, right?
yeah,
And I think that there's always an initial pushback until the functionality or the need surpasses that. And I think a perfect example of that is actually Apple Pay. Because I was reluctant to do anything Apple Pay at the beginning, but now I won't even carry a wallet because for what?
yeah.
Right? I
yep, yep.
mean, so Gato, do you use Apple Pay?
I
You
do
know,
use Apple Pay. I do.
exactly. So, it's one of those things that with time, right, I think that there will be this adoption and it'll become the norm. It'll become
Yeah.
socially acceptable to wear them in the gym and have, enough, I think that there's enough social cues or social ethics maybe to know
Yeah.
that you don't do that, and or maybe now there's like better guidelines and it won't
Well, I
use it
don't
in
know
specific
even
areas.
about social cues because, again, think about like going to the gym and a creep takes a picture of you hiding his phone.
Right.
They still do that. So now you're just giving better tools and technologies to maybe people that
Well,
shouldn't have it,
Yeah, but
and it's just
those
harder
tools.
to see like, oh, is that person recording me or not? Not will it be acceptable?
right.
Just like it'll
Yeah,
be hard
but
to
I think
detect.
those tools already exist. To be honest with you, like if somebody wants to do those kinds of things, they can go
Correct.
Right, but
to like
it'll
a
be
private
harder to
event.
be like, oh, delete that off your phone, or did you
No,
just
no,
take a
I
picture?
understand. Yeah, and I understand your perspective. I think that, I guess the way that I perceive it is I always feel like the phone and the pictures that you take never really translate the moment that you're feeling, right? And this is kind of helping you. Like I feel like it's even I did a video while I was playing tennis.
Yeah.
Like I showed the feeling of when you throw the ball in the air and you're gonna hit it. You could never really do that
Yeah, no,
with
and
that.
that was a badass video. I'm not gonna lie, that it was awesome.
You know.
You guys
We'll put it up for our viewers to
right here.
see it here real
And,
quick.
and the point of that was like showing a perspective that it was literally impossible unless I strapped the camera to my chest
Yeah.
and had like a production team with me trying to, like it was like a high
Like with
production
the
shoot. So like
wearables.
you wouldn't be able to do that unless you had a team of professionals directing you and telling you how I'm gonna grab a crane, I'm gonna film this, I'm gonna do that. But it shows a perspective that we've never been able to share before.
I think this is a great conversation, but I think I want to also now kind of veer to understanding some of the issues, right? And pros that can come from that, how brands can harness this, right? So, I want to kind of give a quick little kind of recap of where we are right now. 2012, Google came out with Google Glass. It was for lack of a better word, a laughingstock, right? And I think to Ben's point, it has been a slow adoption curve, mainly because the technology has been catching up. But since then, we have the Apple Vision Pro, which is really working on hyper immersive, kind of complete field of view technology. Now they announced the fact that you'll be able to actually pin widgets and apps to your real world. So if I put a clock or a notification on my wall in the top left here, it'll remember it's there, and I could come back to it and reference it at any point as if it was a digital, actual clock hanging there physically, not physically, but in space. Now, then you have the route of Snap, Meta, and Google, where they're going very minimalist, augmenting kind of what you see. Google just announced kind of partnership with Samsung. They also are collaborating with Gentle Monster and Warby Parker with their new Android XR platform to be able to kind of bring even a fashion touch to it, which to me reminded me of the Apple Watch and the Hermes partnership, right? How do you make it into technology into a fashion statement? So I bring all that to say that I genuinely do think privacy concerns and counterculture concerns, and all, this is something where we are moving to the place where more and more people are jumping in. And I think that products like, the Meta, Snap, and Google are going to make it easier for eventually people jumping in and walking around, other than the super fans, with the Vision Pros on their face. And it'll just become socially acceptable. I think that over time, what would happen is there'll be new social norms where, to your point, maybe it becomes a new social norm that you don't wear wearables to the gym, right? That just becomes a new understood behavior. And on that point, I want to toss it back to you guys and really think of like, as marketers and brands, what we really aim to do is kind of peek around the corner. How do we get ahead of the curve? How do we kind of anticipate some of these changes and make sure that we're there before anyone else is, right? And I think that, are you seeing some of that now, right? Like, are you seeing some of those user behaviors, or at least those signals of kind of just user behavior changing? I think, Fern, you mentioned about the concerts. Do concert engagements, right, or entertainment engagement change now that all of a sudden people have their hands free? Are we not going to see more interaction back like it used to be, where people are clapping and you're getting more audience involvement? Do we think that's going to happen, or is it more of a fad?
I think It's like Alexa when Alexa first came out, and anybody can activate Alexa. I can't remember the brand, but we're gonna show it here because there was a great ad that was done where they hacked Alexa and basically threw the commercial on a TV and it said, Alexa, tell me about, and they said the name of the brand, and then Alexa went off on this like 3 minute tangent about the brand. It was great
Love it.
integration from a brand and taking advantage of a new technology that nobody knew how to take advantage of yet, right? And it was probably the most practical way, to be able to hack Alexa at that point. So eventually, when you are wearing your wearables and we have come to that adoption period and you walk into a Starbucks and there's no longer a menu on the board, on the wall, and now it's telling you what the specials are, giving you recommendations based on the last thing you ordered, or, you walk into a pet store, or you walk into Petland and you're like, hey, I'm looking for, a Doberman, and it's like, that's not a good dog for you because, it sheds a lot and you have these types of allergies, and it's making recommendations. That integration for brands, I think, is what needs to be thought of, is what is the natural integration or that next evolution of this technology, and how do we become part of that ecosystem versus trying to be the next creative and kind of change the way things are, even though there's um, a lot of reluctancy in that counterculture. There's still a mass population that does want to adopt it, right? And you can either be at the front of that and be an early adopter and be one of those pioneers hacking Alexa, or you can be the ones that are trying to get it done once everybody's done it, and now you're just blending, and what's the point, right?
Yeah.
So it does present itself right now as a challenge, because how much access do we even have as marketers to integrate, right?
Exactly.
But are we really challenging ourselves to think outside of the box in that fashion?
Correct.
Well, I think also it's kind of like, and I think that's a great point. I think that you're spot on with that, because it's what the App Store was to the iPhone,
Right.
right? Like until you don't have the kind of open market where brands can develop apps or functions that you can be used with those wearables, it's kind of hard to integrate it, right? Um, Now there's things like with the Meta glasses, you say, "Hey Meta," or "What am I looking at?" or this or that. You might, I guess, you could explore how, if you're looking at your product or interacting with your brand, or what is that, how, what is the answer that Meta gives, right? So maybe those are things that you might want to explore and see. Okay, when they're in my store and they say, "Hey Meta, what should I order?" Whatever, and you're the one that decides what Meta says, or at least influence what Meta says, would be a possibility. But I think that once we start to get wearables that are projecting things, or that
Yeah.
or wearables that have applications that go along with those wearables, and consumers are having experiences with that, and brands are able to participate in that, or developers or and things that are able to contribute to that. I think that's when the game changes, right? Because the iPhone wouldn't be the iPhone if you don't have Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, or your AI apps, or your sports app, or you're not able to stream ESPN on your phone. It's just, if you take away all of that, you wouldn't be picking up your phone 50 times a day, you
Right.
know? If,
So
so I think that's when the game changes. And that's, I think, what people are trying to figure out is how do I get that on a phone, or whatever other thing it is that people are trying to come up
No,
with.
I mean, and think of it this way, right? Even for like sporting events, right? I
yeah.
There's nothing that I love more than going to a Dolphins game, but there's a certain element that I miss not watching it on TV, because you have the commentators and all this. You're wearing these wearables, and now that becomes that brand moment where you have that streaming commentator. You're not missing the game, you're live there, but then right in that timeout, right in the switch of a quarter, right during halftime, now you have a brand saying, hey, if you want Bud Light, go to the concession stand. If you want a pizza, Papa John's. And now it's that fully immersive brand moment happens because you become part of it without being disruptive, which I think is
Yeah.
the biggest thing. And that's a very bold statement to say, being an agency and saying not being disruptive, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Because
yeah.
that's what we're supposed to be, is disruptive. But the reality is that once you're talking about this type of technology, it has to be a seamless integration. It can't feel unnatural.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, and I think the way I think about it is kind of like a walk, run, fly kind of approach from a brand's, right? And what I mean by that is obviously we are, by all intents and purposes, still in the early stages of wearable. So how do you go ahead and integrate your existing marketing campaigns with the fact that these devices are now out in the wild? So something like maybe you're unleashing a collection of flavors or collection of products, and it's something as simple as, hey, ask about our different colors, right? But you can ask your wearable, and all of a sudden the wearable and the AI can provide, and you providing kind of prompt guidance to the AI already within the glasses, right? Because it's, using Google Lens, and you kind of can seeing and getting that contextual relevance. Then you're moving on to the next level where you kind of start creating in crowds. Now you've hit a certain level of critical mass. You can start creating dedicated campaigns that, maybe we bring back the scavenger hunts of old, right? Where brands used to do these great scavenger hunts, but now you're really leveraging what they're seeing. And then the fly is going to be really farther out there, but what I think about is the data, right? So like smart TVs are already using ACR, right? Automated content recognition. And they're essentially seeing what you're watching, taking screenshots to kind of understand the user behavior, the kind of content that you like, and sending these consumer profiles for digital marketers online. Whether we agree with it or not, from a data perspective, I very much see a future where some of that is happening, right? How are you capturing billboards? Maybe you're capturing the effectiveness of a billboard. Maybe we're looking at how does the funnel and attribution models change when you have a digital device and you can say this person saw that billboard, that bus ad, and then saw CTV all within one session or within a couple of weeks, and then converted. So how do you leverage the data from that in a larger level? I think is going to be exciting for me to kind of see how that develops.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a
I
lot of
think
talk about hyper targeting, or personalization, right? So I think that it comes to that. Um, but I think there's hyper personalization in the way that brands may want to target you, right? But I think of hyper personalization also in the way that you want to consume things, right? So even to the scenario that Ben is painting about, how does he want to experience the game live, right? How does he want to capture a moment without interrupting his experience? And I think what's exciting is getting back a little bit of real life. It's kind of interesting to think that maybe the tools are getting so advanced that they no longer might interrupt the things that are most important, right? So like we're not going to be at a table looking at our phones because we'll have things and we'll have access to information in a way that is non-disruptive to our dinner. Maybe
Yeah, but
we're
how dystopian does that become when
Yeah,
everybody's
yeah,
sitting there with
that doesn't
glasses on,
sound
nobody's
amazing to
talking,
me.
and they're all
Not
just like
gonna
staring at
lie.
each other, but they're not really staring at each other.
It's like, huh? Sorry, I was watching YouTube. What did you
no,
say? Like,
I don't mean it that way. I mean, but you can do it. I imagine that like you'll have to have some sort of controls into how you want to interact or how much you want to manage that or
listen,
whatnot.
Fern, I have a hard enough time managing my teens from getting at dinner from being on their phones. This is not filling me with excitement.
No, I said I don't see it that way. I see it more like life might get
Yeah.
better. I don't see it as it's gonna disrupt us more. I think it might free us more than we think.
Yeah, I think
So
experiences. I mean, even when you talk about AR, right, on the phone, when you bring AR now into not having to carry your phone, how better is that experience, right? You're at Basel and you're at an art event and there's like some crazy activation going on, and you don't have to sit there, trying behind like this like small little 3-inch
yeah.
box, and now you're actually, what Fern was saying, like get to experience the entire event without that in the way. And then again, you have these elements of creativity that can come in where a piece comes to life, right? I mean, that it can be super cool. the future of it, that's unknown. I don't know, Caro, what do you think the
Yeah,
future looks like?
so I think the future could be very interesting in the sense of, and again, I recently heard about wearables mostly through the conversations that we've had. I think we don't consume the same media, which is why conversations like this are so important. No, genuinely.
No, for real.
Like to a certain extent, the only wearables that I knew is like I know about Snapchat glasses and I know about Meta glasses, but I know that there's like a Pandora's box of things that are currently in the works, extensions to our garments, to our Apple Watches, through other wearables that can say how we're feeling, what our emotions are, if we're sweating, if we're not, how our heart rate, like, and how all that combines. So I was thinking when Fern mentioned his clip about playing tennis and we could see what that was like for him, I wonder, is there going to be some sort of version of a digital frame, like how we have digital photo frames where somebody can sit and see exactly how it is that we felt in that exact moment, including giving us the heart rate, giving us the palpitations, giving us the sweat, giving us like absolutely everything that we were thinking and feeling and looking at. And then that kind of takes me to, is there such thing as like a permanent product placement? Like if you use something so often and that becomes part of your daily life, that it becomes part of your memory, that it becomes part of what you're kind of recording, and somebody sits
Well,
down and looks at
now,
that and it's
now
like,
you're talking about Neuralink.
now I'm like,
you're saying that
now
I'm
I'm,
going off,
oh,
off
now
the
AI
deep end
scares you
again? Are you
guys. Now AI
serious?
scares you guys.
Wait, Kyle hit on something that I want to hear from you guys. So like, I like that idea of like, how you see kind of the product evolving or a feature. Like Ben, Fern, is there like a feature or product of how you would like this to evolve in the future? Like, just out of interesting, I would love to see where people's head is at because I really like that. So what do you guys think? What is something that you hope for that will come with this technology?
Fern, I'll let you lead since you already own the glasses.
No, I think it was what I was talking to at first, right? It's like the freedom to live a little bit less attached, right? I think that when you look at society and the way that we're all hyper connected to our phones, and even for myself, if I leave my house without my phone, I feel disconnected. I feel like I'm missing out on something that I'm not. So if wearables can kind of help us detach a little bit from this digital world and this hyper connectivity, but in a way still be connected in a healthy manner, I think would be great.
For me, listen, I'm addicted to the Garmin. I do not want to take it off. When I have to charge it, for me, I'm like, I just want to lay still so that none of my data,
It's like
like
track
my,
all my
you know.
metrics.
So
Yeah.
I agree. I agree with Gato. Like for a second there, when she was talking about reliving these moments and knowing what your heart rate was at and all these things. I mean, I don't know if that's because my relationship with my Garmin right now, but I love the data. I think that that's
Yeah.
the reality. Having like really knowing, like what it was that you were feeling at that moment. I think that's super cool. That's awesome.
So
I
I'm
pay for
glad.
that.
It's so funny that you guys all mentioned something really personal in nature, right? And I think this is going to lead to us kind of like wrapping some of the takeaways for brands. But I want to mention mine because I think it's in the same vein, which for me is, how Apple, I'm an iPhone user. You know how it has the memories feature that it like consolidates memories from different photos and times. I would love if they were down the line some kind of integration, if it's Apple or whoever, where you're going around, you have these glasses, in your face, and if you're able to kind of capture those magical moments and highlight like, hey, like here's some of the highlights based on your heart rate, based on whatever of your day. I think like if as people, now I'm going to get a little bit on my soapbox, if we could just be more grateful and appreciative as people and acknowledge the small little, kind of miracles that happen during a day or great moments and memories, I think that it spins the technology dystopian future a little bit away from that and more to a positive lens. So I would love just to be able to say, hey, oh my God, I forgot all that happened on that random Tuesday. That was a really good Tuesday, right? Like being able to leverage that technology somehow that way would be awesome. And I think the reason why I think that segues to my prompt of like, what are some takeaways from brands is because at the end of the day, when it comes to technology across any tool, I find it hard, leave me a comment, right? And if you disagree, but like I find it hard to see how any tool does not or is not meant to help you, a consumer, personally, right? Some type of connection, whether it be social media, what have you. So wearables, the whole idea of wearables is that it should augment our day-to-day, ideally bring us closer, although in some cases it might separate us a little bit. So how can brands tap into that in a way that does not end up seeming like you're just virtual billboards, pop-ups, and spam filters all in your eyeballs, and more like, hey, no, this is actually a great way to interact with a brand in a different way. And again, just to kind of reframe that, how do you think brands should be showing up now in wearables, or thinking about that, and kind of future-proofing that customer journey positioning in down the line?
For me, I think it's seamless integration. I mean, it just has to feel natural. It has to feel part of the environment. What's actually happening, it can't be that episode of Black Mirror, like Gato was saying, where it's if you all I saw was episode 1. That was wild, paying for different levels of service and things like that. But that seamless integration, making it feel natural, non-disruptive, which is the counterculture of the agency world. I think that's really what brands need to be looking at doing.
Yeah, and what I would add to that is buy the things, try them on, experience them. If you want to build for something, you have to know what you're building for, right? So I would say buy them, use them, see how they feel for you. Try to see what consumers might feel like when they're using them, so that when you are creating for them, or you're doing something that's relevant to that. For example, for Meta, I would say that I would test it, right? Like you can ask Meta questions, ask them about things that are relevant to your brand, see if there's anything, if it's responding with anything that you feel that you should be coming up with, that you should be a relevant answer to your question, and then figure out how do you get there. Is there like some optimization that you have to do from your points of data where this is gathering information? Like how do you get your brand information? And right now it might be searching the web. I'm not even sure about it, and it's something that after this call, I'm gonna try to find out, like, how is it that Meta glasses is gathering information from the web, and if they say, let's say, what are the best agencies in Miami, Florida, right? How does our agency, Fern Galvez, come up? Does it come up? Is it even mentioned? Does it say, hey, who did the branding for Winwood? I'm gonna shamelessly plug here. If we come up, who's the best agency for hospitality? Nice. Who's the
It's gonna be like mirror, mirror on the wall.
Who's the best B2B agency in the southern region? Nice.
Oh, come on.
Listen. This is for all our Magnet people. We love you guys. We're not trying to compete.
Who's the best agency in Magnet? Nice.
Oh my God. Got him.
Honestly, I'm, me devil's advocate always, but what is this going to mean? What do you guys think this is going to mean investment wise? Like for the common folk, all I hear is about things that we need to buy, subscriptions that we need to be a part of, wearables, like where are they going to come from? I think for regular people who can't really afford luxuries, because this would be a luxury to live a better life, have a better quality of life, be able to spend more time present and in the moment. So what is that going to mean for brands who are actually making the wearables? And are they going to make it affordable? Again, it goes into the Black Mirror episode about subscriptions. Are there going to be different tiers? You get a better quality of life if you spend more money. So that's something that I'm interested to see how it plays out.
Yeah. And for me, it's really going to be twofold. One is really just kind of elaborating on what Fern said about playing around using it, but also keeping it simple to start, right? You already have a marketing strategy, ideally, message, you know who your audience is. So this is something as simple as Califia milk, being able to say, hey, ask us where, our milk come from, and being able to show a quick video pop-up about, the cows and how they're treated and where it's raised, and connecting with the audience who's more sustainable focused, right? Sustainability focused. So keeping it simple to start. And in the big picture, I think about a case study that actually, Ben, you shared with me about Starbucks and how they mapped out the user journey. And I think that be revisiting your customer journey as this technology evolves. It's almost like evolving from playing chess to 3D chess. Now you have to plan not only for the physical world, but for the virtual world. How does that overlay? How does the consumer transition from the virtual to the physical as this technology continues to evolve? And just being open to testing that out, because part of being a first mover is making some mistakes and sometimes ideally making the right moves when you get it right. So just being open and kind of taking some of that chance, right? So thank you again, everybody, for tuning in today. It's been another Catalyst Conversations. Please let me know any features that you want this technology to evolve, or any feedback you think, that maybe your brand is taking to kind of jump on some of these issues. We want to hear it. Comment, send us a note. Until next time, take care.